What if the greatest danger you faced wasn't the lions, but the moment you had to decide who you truly were? For 80 years, he had served kings. He had risen higher than any foreigner in the most powerful empire on earth. But none of that mattered anymore, because now, in the final chapter of his life, Daniel would face a choice that could only be made by an old man who had spent his entire life becoming someone. This is the story of Daniel, taken from his homeland as a boy, placed in a palace that worshipped different gods, and yet somehow never lost himself. You will see him as an old man, still standing when everyone else bowed. You will watch his enemies circle like wolves. Stay with us, because this isn't just about surviving lions. It's about what happens when you've spent so many years being faithful that faithfulness has become the only thing you know how to be. If stories of courage speak to you, please like, share, and subscribe. Now, let's begin. By the time Daniel reached his 80s, his back was bent, but his eyes were still clear. He had outlasted empires. Now, Darius the Mede sat on the throne. Daniel had been appointed one of 3 governors over the entire kingdom. But his excellence came with a price. The other officials watched him with hungry eyes.
Daniel's favor with the king grows too strong. We must act before he rises above us. A trap is needed.
They searched for corruption in his work. They found nothing, so they searched for something else. They said to each other, "We will never find any charge against this Daniel unless we find something in connection with the law of his God." And in that sentence, they found their weapon. They went to the king and said, "O King Darius, live forever. All the commissioners have agreed that you should issue an edict. For 30 days, anyone who prays to any god or person except you shall be thrown into the lion's den." The king, flattered by their loyalty, signed the decree. In Persia, no law of the Medes and Persians could be revoked. Daniel knew the document was signed. He knew what it meant. And then he did something that made no sense to anyone who didn't understand him. He went home. He opened his windows toward Jerusalem. And just as he had done every single day for 8 decades, he knelt and prayed. He didn't pray in secret. He didn't hide. 3 times that day, he gave thanks to God. And 3 times watching eyes ran to the palace. They stood before the king and said, "Did you not sign a decree that anyone who prays to any god except you shall be thrown into the lion's den? Daniel pays no attention to you. 3 times today, he has prayed to his God." The king was devastated. He tried to find a way to save Daniel, but his officials reminded him, "No decree can be changed." With a heavy heart, the king called for Daniel and said, "Daniel, servant of the living God, may your God, whom you serve continually, rescue you." The stone covered the opening, and Daniel was left in darkness with only the sound of breathing that was not his own. Scripture doesn't tell us what Daniel thought that night, but it tells us something more important. God sent his angel and shut the mouths of the lions. No scratch, no wound, no fear. Just an old man and his God keeping watch together in the dark. At first light, the king hurried to the den and called out,
Daniel, can you hear me? Please answer me. I hope it's not too late.
"Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God been able to rescue you from the lions?" And Daniel answered, "O king, live forever. My God sent his angel and shut the mouths of the lions. They have not hurt me, because I was found innocent in his sight." Daniel was lifted from the den without a single scratch, and Darius wrote to every nation, "He is the living God. He rescues and he saves. He has rescued Daniel from the power of the lions." Daniel's story leaves us with a question we cannot escape. When the stone is rolled over your life, who are you then? Faithfulness isn't something you perform. It's something you become. You are not defined by the den you face tonight. You are defined by who you've been becoming all along. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. Together, we can bring more stories of faith to the world.